I've never experienced writer's block until it came to my new album, Retold. This video is about how I overcame it at basically the last minute. I hope this might help you too if you're struggling with writer's block. Hi, I'm Heinbach and it's good to have you back. Retold was not planned as an album first. It was a piece that was supposed to be performed live, and the album is derived from the rehearsal and live sessions. Paul Clift of Ensemble Recherche approached me and asked if I want to develop a piece with them and perform it together. I was very happy about that, as they're an award-winning ensemble that have worked with greats like Luigi Nono and Morten Feldman. And they're based in Freiburg, the town I was born in and lived adjacent to for the first 20 years of my life. So this would be a homecoming, and I wanted the music to reflect that. I had a good 8 months to come up with something to perform with the ensemble together. From the get-go, I knew I wanted there to be a lot of improvisation involved, and this was supposed to be a development with the ensemble. Like in a Dungeons & Dragons adventure, I needed to set a world and a story so everyone can play freely within that world or that frame. This is something I've done before, for example, with Primer, my album with Ensemble Moderne, but thrice I might this time I could not come up with anything. I just drew blanks. I even shied away from even thinking about the project. 2 weeks before, I had no idea what we're gonna do, and I started to panic. And that was unusual for me, because I never get writer's block, really. I have many techniques in place that are specifically designed to keep me creating constantly. I've got a full video about that and I'll link that here, but here's the gist of it. I work on music every day, so I'm never out of the flow. That does not only mean sitting down and writing a new piece on the piano or my wall of test equipment. It means sitting down with an instrument and learning to play it, taking a synth, making new presets, cleaning up the mess of the previous session, fixing things that are broken. So many pieces I've done come out of the process of me just fixing up something or trying out something while I was dusting off synthesizers. And oh, interesting sound. What goes there? What happens? All these little experiments that I do that just create a new spark, an idea that is then rather easy to execute because the idea is there already. And then it's just following it along and listening and thinking how to fulfill it. The second technique is I feed myself new things every day, be it the books that I also feature in my newsletter. Oftentimes I find ideas here and I have a hard time finishing the books because there's just something exciting in here, so I have to rush to the studio. Or it's art. My mother had a little plaque in our old kitchen: the mind grows by what it feeds on, and I can subscribe to that. Third technique is taking breaks. When I used to work in the theater, one of the best directors I work with would take a smoking break every 45 to 60 minutes. And even when she quit smoking, she then had a carrot break. And those breaks helped her to collect her mind, to collect her ideas, and then step in front of the actors and crew again and give directions. And those breaks are really important. For example, when I work with Cosmos, there's the Moog Sonic 6 that, before it was recalibrated by my tech, needed 15 minutes to warm up properly to stay in tune. And they said, okay, let's play the Moog, but we need to give it some time. Then we walked around and came back. Moog was tuned, we could play again, but we had a fresh mindset. Breaks, of course, work on a larger scale. I mean, I lug a lot of equipment on holidays, so I keep on making music and I keep on working in that regard. It's hard to not make music for me, but these musical holidays help me a lot. There should also have been an emotional reason to write, and that is the feeling of loss. Just a few months after we sat down the performance date, I got to spend a good part of the year in Freiburg. When I say I got to, it was rather I had to, because my mother, at age 82, suffered a severe fall and had to be hospitalized for quite a while. I rode my bike back and forth to the hospital, constantly discussing with my sister what we should do next. And in the end, my mother decided she could not live in the house anymore and go into attended care in Munich to be near my sister. While my sister organized the move, it fell to me to clean out the house and sell it off. That was a rather big task, not only because there were decades worth of stuff from our family in that house, but also because the housing market was in kind of trouble at that time. And then there were all the memories. Every creaking door, every little dent in a wall, everything in that house carries a memory because I grew up in there. There were some oddly fun moments too. For example, I put my Amiga games on classifieds and within an hour I had 10 replies saying, I want this, don't sell it, why are you selling this so cheap, don't sell it this cheap. And I realized, wow, old Amiga game boxes, they're worth something. But mostly during that time there was an overwhelming feeling of loss. And that should have been positive because, yeah, turning wounds into art is something that artists are supposed to be good at. Still, I got nothing done. Not while I was there working on selling the house, which luckily went rather fast and my mother could afford a decent nursing home due to that, but also when I returned home. There I just went from project to project, just carrying on. But every time I tried to work on this on Retold, what eventually became Retold, couldn't do it. It was completely blocked off for me. So I kept on procrastinating, doing other things, throwing myself into different projects. I even recorded a completely different album, Breve, which dealt with me not wanting to deal with anything anymore. And 2 weeks before we were supposed to go live with this, and just 10 days before we were supposed to go into rehearsal, that felt a bit threatening. In my desperation, I started to look into my archive to maybe find an idea that I hadn't finished, something that I could use, something that could inspire me. And then I realized something. Going through all the music that I've done in the past years, there was a lot that already dealt with the topic of homecoming and of losing that. Because every time I went there on holiday with my family, I set up a bunch of instruments, usually on the table, where I used to do my homework and started making music. And the world around me came into that. My kids running around in the house and screaming at the top of their lungs like I did when I was a kid, or the shuffle of my father as Parkinson took more and more of a hold on him and his eventual passing. And then my mother, as her body slowly was unable to handle a house this big, that slowly started to wear down and decay around her while she occupied less and less space in it. So I made music through all of that. I played my mother's piano. I made field recordings of the wind in the trees we planted. So a loss and saying goodbye was something I've been doing for years. And in that moment I realized I don't need to come up with something new. I can't come up with something new. I've already said goodbye over a good decade to the place I called home. So what I did is I became an editor of myself. I looked through all my releases and picked the parts that I recorded right there that felt emotionally the closest to what I was experiencing, that feeling of loss. And then I cut them into tape loops. I cut out little parts and quickly I had 7 or 8 different loops that felt like, oh, these are little places of hurt, but also musical ideas. There's a lot going on in them already, and I can use these as starting points to work with the orchestra. I just needed to frame it for them correctly. And that is basically what I did. I told them about my problem of writer's block and why I couldn't do it until I looked into my own library. And that resonated, because this feeling of loss, of losing places, losing people as time goes by is pretty universal. But I could tie it uniquely to that house in the Black Forest. And that worked wonderfully. The ensemble reacted quickly to the musical ideas on the tape loops and the world I provided in them, and we created something that to me felt like a hall of memories and place, a reconstruction of something that happened to me, as each of these moments I was able to relive. But suddenly there was a bigger soundtrack, as it was not just me in there were other people playing in it, and it became its own beautiful world. And the performance itself was a big success, and the album also, it did surprisingly well. It went top 3 on Bandcamp, and even on streaming it does pull in some decent numbers for a neoclassical Neue Musik ambient electronic thing. So I was very happy about that. But I realized while making this video that this is not the whole truth, not by far. It is a good story that the well of inspiration on that particular topic was already empty, and I had just to reach back into the little bit of packaged ideas where I dealt with that. But truth is, I had done something that can happen anytime again, and that's more scary. During the time that I spent in an ever more boxed up and emptying house, I had neglected all the things that I usually do to keep myself creative. I did not make any music. At first it was because I didn't have any time, because there was a lot of things to organize, talking to estate agents, talking to government officials, getting these papers in order, finding that, packing up things, selling of that was a lot to do. But usually that has never ever kept me from sneaking in a bit of music here and there. So the emotional component was much stronger. I could not sit down to play the piano, or I could not read poetry, or I could not even look at a piece of art for fear of becoming unwound. I needed it to function in this, and every time I would have made myself open again, I would probably just have cried. I mean, it seems silly now, but that was how I felt being there alone. So what I did was I just went out with the friends that I had there, luckily still in the Black Forest, and I would go for long bike rides if I had the time, or I would drink unhealthy amounts of red wine and binge watch TV series. And there's even a video to show that. I made a video on a prop in a TV series right there in the cellar, and you can watch that here. But I don't know why I did it. The video was basically an odd observation and some speculation, and that's all. I mean, I've never done a video in this style before, and it absolutely tanked. I don't think anyone watched it, but maybe I felt I needed to keep the channel going. Maybe I felt I needed to do something creatively. Whatever that video was, I don't know. I don't feel like rewatching it, because I would see the house, I would see all these things that remind me of it. So there was no real music, there was no new input, and then I didn't do any real breaks. I went home, I just kept going on to projects, and when it came back to making music, I made a point of not making music related to this project, because I just couldn't. That was probably even more important than the well of inspiration being dry. I think it's a nice story that I told myself at the time. And as a nice story, it really worked well to get me back on track and really work out this project and create something beautiful together with the ensemble out of it. But what probably holds more true is that I was protecting myself. I did not want to deal with the whole thought process of leaving home for real. I'd done it theoretically in all these pieces, but when it became real, it was just too much. So I needed to let it heal. Some things can be too intense to immediately turn into arts. It takes some time to get perspective. Artists are vampires in a way. We take from all of life and from everyone and then turn that into something that sustains us, that makes us happy. So, but sometimes, yeah, it's not possible. But now I know that the next time something similarly stressful emotionally comes across, and it will, that's just life, and it might get even worse, but then I'll probably try to not let these systems collapse, just do something, just keep on keeping on. So there is not such a feeling of helplessness that I experienced in this moment and with this particular project before it became, something beautiful. As I'm editing this, that's the conclusion I came up with. Just keep on powering through and keep your head down and go on. Take your own advice, Stefan, and do take a real break when something like this occurs, and don't just try to power on through. Cut yourself some slack, man. On with the program. I hope you enjoyed this video and found something in there for you should you struggle with writer's block or similarly emotionally charged situations and your relationship to music when they come. This video was one of the most requested ones when I recently put up a list on my Patreon about what topics I should schedule next, which honestly quite surprised me, because I always think you are interested in some odd piece of history or some music technique, or maybe just another synthesizer. So this is a rather unusual video for me to film, and I want to thank my patrons for making me do it, really, because they are the reason I can keep on doing things, especially in times like that when there's no income because I can't make videos, because I can't make music, I can't play shows during that. So that really helped at that time. Now, if you have struggled with writer's block and have any more input, please put it down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you all for watching. I'll be seeing you in the next one.